Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're talking about a brand new OCG ban list that just dropped for them. It's very exciting. Ban lists in the OCG seem to go really hard, and they also don't, really have nearly as much, withdrawal when it comes to trying to hold back on hitting new archetypes and stuff, except for our last situation where we hit, super heavy and Pirelli really early. But still, it's really cool. It always gives us some kind of insight into what the TCG might end up doing on their next ban list, as we do normally follow around 3-ish months behind the OCG in terms of our formats. But they're never always the same, but it's still really cool to see. So let's get into it. I don't pay super close attention to the OCG format, but I do definitely look into every Road of the King post when they make a format post, and I look into some of their tournament lists and stuff just to get some ideas for decks. But it's definitely different than ours. It's very diverse, but I think there's been some definite degeneracy with some of the decks that float around this top level of decks for them. So I think that's what we see here. Shout out to Rescue Ace. I think this is, I don't want to say an anomaly, but I'm not sure Rescue Ace really is the best deck in their format. And even if it is, I think it's the kind of deck where it's compatible enough. It's not so broken, which is cool. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the first volley of cards here. We see Kashtira Fenrir. This is a deck that still has floated around so long. As you can see, not only do they still have tier limit deck lists, but also Kashtira. As far as Fenrir is concerned, I think you play him in both of these decks. So he's almost affecting almost 11% of the format in terms of his playability. Plus, obviously, as a generic card as well, he probably sees play in some of these decks as well, just as a splashed card. I mean, you have a deck that makes a Macrocosmos. That's not very fun. The Kashtira version, the tier limit version is a little more fun, but it's it's been around so long that I think it finally had its time to go away, and I think this probably puts the nail in both of those decks' coffins. They're just probably not worth it anymore. Next, you also have this card. I don't even know this card's name, but it's the FTK card for Super Heavy Samurai, which is fine. Totally fine. Some of their topping Super Heavy Samurai lists were the FTK, so they're just trying to eliminate that. I totally get it. You don't want any possibility for FTKs in your format, even if it's not that consistent or played, whatever. You just don't even want the possibility for it, so I like that a lot. Cyberstein and Smoke Grenade, super degenerate, jumps here as well. Cyberstein, love to see this one. Anytime this card ever is played in any deck, in any format, it's doing something super degenerate. It's summoning Barkion. Is Barkion the one I'm thinking of? With the Naturia one that negates all spells and traps an infinite amount of times. That's pretty degenerate. Or if it's an FTK card, or it's, just summoning something super dumb, or the weird psychic stuff where you don't have to pay life points for it, so you can just summon 5 monsters from extra with it. There's some really broken stuff this card facilitates, so it's never really a non-degenerate card. And Smoke Grenade, same thing. I'm not sure how this survived this long. I guess for a while it wasn't even really seeing much play, but it's been the main win condition for some of the decks in the format. Hand loops are stupid. Same idea as Cyberstein. Anytime this card sees play in a deck, it's degenerate as shit. Hand loops, especially targeted hand loops, are disgusting. So, gotta go. I love it. I love that it's gone. This is a good ban section, for sure. All right, moving on to the limited section here. A lot of stuff in the limited section. I'm going to have to go down and check. You're going to see some already, really interesting movements here. First off, we have Monkey Board. And, Monkey Board goes from forbidden to 1. So they're actually trying Monkey Board at 1 here. We'll see how this goes. I don't usually see much pendulum stuff going on in the OCG. It usually plays into Max C pretty hard, so I'm not sure if this will make that big of a difference, especially only at 1, but we'll see. Circular goes from, I think, 3 to 1. It might have been at 2. It'll tell me here. Yeah, it went from 3 to 1, just like the TCG. Totally okay with this. I think it limits the deck a little bit, hurts a little bit of their follow-up, but, and a small bit of consistency. But I think it's enough. I think it's enough of a hit to also take Mathmech out of being like a super splashable engine in other decks. Like it was. It makes it a lot worse. So, but I think the pure version is still pretty fine. But it's a nice little cap on them looking at their most recent formats. It floats around that same, that same realm of their like 5 best decks. So I understand a small hit to them. You also see Soul Piercer go to 1. This is a weird one because the deck is all about just like looping this card. It's search this card, which the deck has a bunch of ways to search it. Summon it, link it off for the link 1, or synchro it off with like Wakushi, search, and then reborn it off the link 1 anyway, and search, and then clear it and search again. So this is a weird card. I mean, I guess it like hurts a little bit of consistency by putting it to 1. But, or I guess it puts it in a weird standpoint of like, if you can get it banished, it's just gone for the duel, so they won't be looping anything from that point forward. I guess that's really more of the hit here, but it's fine. Super Heavy's been like part of this weird giant pile deck that's been doing degenerate stuff for a while in the OCG. I've honestly been surprised they haven't done anything to this point, but finally we see it here. So that's cool. This may be the most interesting thing on this entire list. MX Saber Invoker goes from 0 to 1. I don't even know off the top of my head all of the best targets for this card, but I believe this card is in the realm of it takes any 2 level 3 Earth monsters to make, I want to say. I want to make sure I get this right because I didn't even see I didn't even look into this list before we got into it. But that is like insane. It's let's see. Yeah, he takes any 2 level 3s. Okay. You can attach 1 material from this card to special summon a level 4 Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior. So any Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior that's exactly level 4 from the deck. Very, very interesting. I mean, listen, I don't know what the best targets are off the top of my head. I'm thinking some Goki stuff maybe gets a lot better with this potentially, allowing Gokis to function way better. It's an interesting one. I'm scared. This definitely rings to me like the type of card that would get unbanned and then get rebanned pretty quick. So we'll see. We'll see if it comes up, but very, very scary. Let me know in the comments what you think this card could make degenerate the fastest. Pirelli gets Sleepy Memory put to 1. I always thought we were going to put Sleepy Memory to 1, but we put Delicious Memory, which actually arguably ended up being more crippling in the long run. At least until we get the new support in the next set. I think this is fine. It takes a little bit of consistency from them, so they're not opening their quick play spells or finding them off of the regular Pirelli as often. But and also it keeps them from drawing more than 2 in your opponent's standby phase. That was really the most degenerate thing, because you could like completely break their board and everything, but they could just have like 7 cards in hand going into their next turn, and that's still enough to beat you with a Zeus line, with a happiness line, whatever, and it's brutal. Prosperity to 1. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see this in the TCG. Everybody plays this card, and it's super expensive, so like budget players can't play this card really. And when everybody plays a card like this, it's watering down deck building. It's, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit too generically applicable. It's like everybody having 3 Rotas in their deck kind of thing. So I'd actually like to see this go to either 1 or 2 in the TCG. We'll see. I used to love this card. I still do love this card. I love playing it. But when everybody plays it, it's like, meh. When it first came out, it was kind of like, oh, like, but only 30% of the decks are even prosperityable decks, and now people are like, no, it's just too good. I'm just gonna banish a third of my extra deck. It doesn't even matter. Whatever. There we go. Fountain to 1. This was huge as well, because if you look at the breakdown, Runic has been performing as like one of the top 5 decks, and this is pure Runic, by the way, in most cases. So this is like Runic Stun. It's like 10 Floodgates, and then the Runic engine. It's super, super stupid. Nobody likes it other than the people who play it. And so, yeah, I love this. This makes them so, so fragile. They're not hard opening this. Do they have tip all the way at 3? They may not even have tip at 3. I can't remember if tip has been hit on the last list. So it's possible that they may have, I don't even know. It could be 1 tip, 1 this. Let me know where they're at with that. If so, they're not finding this super consistently without resolving Hugin, and so if your opponent's just negating Hugin, you may just not be getting to Fountain. And if you do, it makes something like one Cosmic Cyclone like auto win you the duel in a lot of cases. So that's awesome. All right, then we move to some semi-limits. Some interesting stuff here. Mostly stuff coming off, it looks. No, 2 things coming off, 2 things going on. Armageddon Knight goes from 1 to 2. I think that's okay. I don't know if this is an MX Saber Invoker thing. He summons Earths, not Darks, but they're trying to get Warrior pile back into rotation. We'll see. It looks like our bike, it goes from 3 to 2. Again, another small consistency hit, kind of like the kind of in conjunction with the dude, the freaking the Soul Piercer, which is fine. I mean, this doesn't really do much, but okay. It is one of their best starters. Prankid's Meow Mew goes from 1 to 2. That is interesting. That, I mean, we still don't have Meow Mew, and I'm curious with power creep how good Prankkids would be in this format. That is definitely something to keep an eye on if the TCG follows suit anytime soon with that, and even gives us 1 Meow Mew. I mean, we might see Prankkids see play with 1, let alone 2, because then you can definitely play the longer game in the deck, but we'll see. And then Block Dragon goes from 3 to 2. That's a good start. I do think Block Dragon will find itself banned in the OCG eventually, but we'll see. I mean, they do have Max C, so these decks that just try to summon it a million times with like Block Dragon and get a bunch of free cards, and they're all extenders, and you're summoning that Emancipators, you're just losing to Max C most of the time like that. So in their format, it is definitely worse than it would be for us, but it's still degenerate as hell. This card is insane. This card has always been insane. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes even further to 1 or none on the next list. But usually they're able to dump this. They're able to get access to this with, you know, Gallant Granite. Like that, it's not great if it's there even at 1. So there. And then we have a bunch of cards that come off the list. Ancient Fairy comes all the way off. Totally cool. This card is actually cool, especially with the errata. It's fair enough, but still really good. Like that. Gazelle is awesome. That's an awesome pairing with the new Salamangreat support. This card at 3 really could be something to help them kind of do something interesting. Saryuja, they're just not fearful of it. It plays so hard into so many cards. Droll, Nib, Max C, that if you're trying to play this card, it's like, especially multiple, it's like, okay. Ptolemy, doesn't matter. If you have 1, you can have 2, you can have 3. Steam the Cloak, again, with no Hulk, all of these tuner cards can definitely come off. This guy could have come off a long time ago. Thunder Dragons can have everything except for maybe Colossus in the TCG. And I think that's kind of what we have in the TCG already. But, yeah. Tenki to 3. Interesting. I mean, there's a world where I would totally be completely fine if Konami wanted to put every legit good Rhoda at 1. You know, we already have regular Rhoda at 1, but like Tenki, Signet Mining, we're going to get Bonfire. Maybe if they make some actual good, more Pyro archetypes, Bonfire to 1. There's definitely one other that I always forget, but whatever. Like, I think there's 1 or 2 more. And they all went to 1. And it was like those types of decks have a nice little 1 free consistency card they get to play on top of everything else they have. But that's it, just the 1. You don't just get a free 3 of that searches you every monster in your deck. Dear Servant goes back to 3. That's great. I think this card's really good, but I don't think it's like super, super degenerate, especially with power creep and where that is. And you also see Spellbook of Judgment going to 3. That's crazy, but the deck doesn't do anything for them, so I think that's totally fine. All in all, like, some really cool stuff here. I think the most interesting things to me, I don't think any of this stuff is particularly interesting. It's just degenerate stuff and a card that's been facilitating decks that have been around way too long and have overstayed their welcome kind of thing. In here, Monkey Board's interesting, but Pendulum doesn't really do much in the OCG, so we'll see. MX Saber Invoker, super interesting. I am very curious to see what comes out of this. I'm almost positive we're going to see some decks that make use of this card very soon, but we'll see. Fountain is great. Fountain to 1 is great because now, like, the Runic Stun deck feels so fragile now. And then Prankid's Meow Mew is interesting for the TCG just because, you know, what, a year and a half ago, this was the maybe one of the best decks in the game, and it was there for a long time, and it felt like it needed to be addressed. Even at 1, this would be interesting in the TCG. I'm almost kind of thinking now, like, with Sprite and all this other power crap stuff, like, is this okay? Is this deck okay to be back? I don't know. And then, you know, nothing too crazy on the unlimits. I mean, mostly just like Gazelle is cool to me. Having them, I think, oh, they might have salads at like complete full power, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's it. Really cool. I'm very interested to see your guys' thoughts down below. If anything, I mean, listen, I don't follow the OCG super close. If I was off basis on any of my thought process on why these cards got hit, feel free to let me know down below, or anything that should have been included on this list that wasn't for the OCG, as well as some other stuff. I mean, I'm glad Rescue Ace dodged it. It feels like the kind of deck that's like not overwhelming in the format, even though, to be fair, they hit like this. So they almost hit every other deck except for like Rescue Ace and Branded in this like almost entire any deck that has over 4% representation. So we'll see how good Rescue Ace is after this, but something tells me they're not going to just straight up seize the format, but we'll see. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this down the line. Peace.